Hey, my name is Sebastian Steff, and in this presentation, I'm going to show you the exact framework I'm following to build multiple $100 million plus companies for myself as well as my clients. I'll show you how to build the $100 million funnel to acquire users and clients consistently at scale. I'll show you what the new mode is and what you have to do to protect yourself in a world where anyone with AI can create or copy any type of software or service that you can make and offer. You'll learn how to build a company that you can exit easily and have investors begging to give you money. And of course, how you can copy all of this and implement it into your own business. Now, if you've seen any of my success case studies, like the Cal AI one, the Auto Shorts or Bible Chat or any of the other ones I've made, then you've seen like bits and pieces of this framework already being implemented by these companies. But in this video, I'll expose the whole thing and stuff these guys haven't even started doing yet. Now, this is the same system I've used to grow my own businesses multiple times from 0 to 6 to 7 figures, which of course allowed me to travel the world and live a pretty cool free lifestyle. And it's also the same system I'm actively implementing with my clients to scale them from their first 1,000 to the first million and beyond. So yeah, this guy hit his first million. These guys are hitting their first like 1K days. This is an app that's now hitting 7K per month, and we're doing barely 1K for the whole year before. This is a SaaS that's hitting $78,000 per month. This is one that's scaling to 4 to 5K per month now. This one's hitting their first 1K month as well. So this is a framework that founders are actually implementing in all stages of their business. And you might have noticed that they're not the only ones, because right now there's this new wave of startup companies being built and scaled to insane levels, all without any VC funding, without expensive development costs, and all built within weeks and not months or years. And so I'm naming these like this new trend of startups, like the Gen Z startup basically. Because there's a few key differences between these ones and like the traditional startups and companies like, Uber or Airbnb, etc. There's a lot easier to copy and implement in any type of business and app in any market really. Now, you might be familiar with some of these SaaS and apps already. They're very popular and viral. And I've also made already case study videos about some of these where I broke down their whole marketing strategy basically. But this whole framework really works in any niche, any market, any country, right? Doesn't matter if it's B2C or B2B. Doesn't matter if it's in the Christian niche, if it's in the fitness niche, if it's in the medical niche, if it's in the student niche, like it really doesn't matter. This whole system works in any niche and any country, any geolocation, any language. It literally doesn't matter, right? If anything, it works even better the more you kind of niche down and really find your own market for it. And there's already founders that are kind of like systemizing this whole process and building multiple companies in the B2C, B2B space, it really doesn't matter, and getting these insane levels of exits of, $100 million plus, be that 2BH or Hyros, where they're not relying on luck to grow these companies, right? It's a very strategized and step-by-step play that can be repeated for any app, for any SaaS, for in any market, in any geolocation. Like it really doesn't matter. And I truly believe that soon enough, if this keeps progressing this way, there's going to be the world's first $1 billion plus unicorn company that was created by a solo founder with the help of AI, which very well might be you watching right now. Now, the main thing I want to ask you is that, if you're a smart capitalist, like I know you are, the first thought you should be when learning about all this information and studying this is that, damn, these apps are super simple to make. Anyone can really make them. I can use AI to probably code half of this. I could just copy them and start printing a bunch of money. And yeah, you're correct. You're not alone. Basically, everybody's thinking the same thing. And so if everybody is thinking the same thing and has access to all the same tools, I want to ask you the question number 2, which is, what do we do in a world where code is becoming worthless, right? Where AI is going to keep making it easier and easier for anyone to create, clone, or copy any type of software that they want. You can hire an Indian to code anything you want for like $15 an hour and a 5-star rating. And how do we win in the system? Not only how do we win, but how do we use this opportunity to our advantage? And I'm saying this because this whole exact same story has happened before in a different market, specifically the e-commerce market. So if you rewind back to 2018, before Shopify came along, before dropshipping came along, all this stuff, starting an e-commerce company and selling physical products online was very, very difficult. Creating a store was expensive. Contacting suppliers and manufacturers was difficult and also expensive. Shipping the product was long and expensive. You have to invest a lot of capital to make any of this work. And then dropshipping came along, and all you really needed was like a $1 Shopify trial and a 3PL and just copying something that already worked. And there you go. You built $1 million company, right? That's exactly what I did, what all of my friends did, and how we had our first come up really. And so right now, the same thing is kind of happening in tech. Before, you needed a lot of capital to build any type of software or tech company, right? Development was slow and expensive. Hiring developers was expensive. Hiring designers was expensive. Advertising was inefficient and difficult and expensive. Everything was just either super expensive or super difficult. Usually both. And so you needed to invest your own capital or raise money from investors to fund all of this, to hopefully build a product that hopefully works and hopefully scales. And fundamentally, we all know that majority of people fail. And so before it was a huge risk to build all this stuff, right? But now that AI is coming along and all this stuff is becoming super cheap and everybody has access to these insane tools, the barrier to entry has been lowered tremendously. And so in a world where the barrier to entry has been lowered so much, what is the new mode and how do you actually, make use of these things? And what's the level of separation that is going to separate between you and your competition? And so that is why I believe the new mode will be marketing and distribution. Because in a world where whatever product you have, whatever offer you have can be outsourced or systemized with AI, if you're succeeding, anybody can come in, copy your whole product and do this step right here better than you, and he will outscale you and outcompete you, right? So if you're not able to compete on marketing distribution, you will fail. And like I said, back in the day, building, a tech company, an MVP, whatever it may be, is going to cost you like $80K. It's going to take 9 months of development. And now to launch any type of tech company, all you need is like a couple AI subscriptions, some APIs, and 2 weeks time. And there you go. You have a whole new tech company. Of course, I'm simplifying it heavily here, but this is the reality that we're going to see in the next couple of years. And so if you're not preparing yourself and getting the new knowledge needed to, compete in this new world, you will be left behind. And so this is exactly where this whole $100 million funnel comes into play. And this is basically a step-by-step process of exactly how to master and have a monopoly over your distribution channels, your marketing, your conversion cycles, as well as your post-purchases, and build a system around your product that is easy to scale, easy to exit, easy to get acquired, whatever it may be. It's going to be way easier. It's going to be very simple because you're not going to be relying on luck or metrics that don't exist. You're going to be relying on just pure data. Now, this whole funnel system, it breaks down into 4 core layers. We start off with the minimum viable product. That stays the same basically. After that is figuring out marketing and distribution. After that comes your conversion step. And then after that, your post-purchase funnel. And so most likely right now, you're at this exact stage. You just have your SaaS. You just have your product. You have your app. You have your agency, whatever it may be. You just have your core offer really. And you don't yet have a full-on strategy to reliably acquire new customers, scale your MRR, grow your lifetime value, and do all the things needed to bring real enterprise value to your company that lets it be scalable, sellable, exitable, whatever you want to do with it. And turns it from more of a passion hobby really to an actual company and business that you can do things with. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a broad overview of the concept of what I'm trying to convey here. So now I'm going to just break down each step in more detail so you understand how all this stuff really works and links together. And so step 1 is always going to be building a minimum valuable product. You want to invest as little money as possible, as little time as possible, and get the most data and returns for that investment. And that whole process is split into 3 parts: research, demand validation, and building the actual MVP. And the main one I really want you to focus on is research, because this is the part I feel like most people skip and gloss over entirely. Now, if you've watched my case study videos, where I broke down the whole strategy behind Cal AI, AutoShorts, Bible Chat, and some other companies as well, then you should know this is the level of competitor research you are supposed to be doing to prepare yourself to enter a market. And so if your market research depends on, hey, I like snowboarding, I should build a snowboarding app, then, that's not how you do it, bro. You're going to fail. The main core concept I want you to take away is, you want to spy on competitors, copy existing success, deep market research, trend analysis. Obviously, these layers go down infinitely, but those are kind of the main talking points I want you to remember. After that, you want to validate demand. And you can do that in multiple ways, from posting organic viral videos and seeing if anything takes off, doing cold outreach, running low spend ads, talking to customers, joining communities, subreddits, group chats, things of that nature. And you're basically getting your hands on your target demographic and just target them and interviewing them and getting data from them. And once you have that, then you can start building the MVP. And again, this has to be as simple as possible. Literally, it can be just a sales page. It can be a form or a pre-sale, a vibe coded app. You can sell, instead of going straight to software as a service, you can just sell the service first, right? Do whatever you can to just acquire the first excited customer that potentially can convert, or growing your wait list. Anything you can to just start building that initial building block of the alpha users who will eventually turn into your full-time customers. And as you can see, this is a looped process, right? This is something you will just do indefinitely until you find something that really works, that you feel in your gut, like, oh shit, I think I'm onto something here. And once you have that moment, you already validated the product, you have some, initial traction, something like that. That's when you want to zoom out and start thinking at a larger scope of how you're going to be doing the marketing, how you're going to be converting these users, how you're going to keep scaling it past that, right? because this whole stage is basically like a microcosm of what you're going to building after it. Now, I think marketing distribution can be categorized into like 7 core channels. Obviously, there's more nuance to it, but for the sake of building our goal of building a $100 million company, these are the main channels you want to be focused on because they're easiest to access, they're the most scalable, and they're the most predictable. Now, if you are like an ambitious person and you want to go straight to building a $1 billion company, then either way, you're going to have to go through this funnel in order to get to that stage. But at that stage, you're going to be focused on a lot more brand advertising, as well as proprietary data and contracts and things of that nature. So the funnel does change a little bit, but either way, to get to that stage, you are going to have to go through this $100 million funnel to get there first. Now, the core 2 pillars of distribution marketing in this age is going to be social media and paid advertising. And social media paid advertising, that obviously includes TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, and other type of social media platforms. Then in paid ads, that's going to be, Meta ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, and sponsorships and influencers. Now, if your product is more high ticket and B2B, then you start involving cold outreach and enterprise as methods of distribution, which would include, cold prospecting, cold emails, cold DMs, cold calling, things of that nature. And on the enterprise level is going to be going to events, networking, referrals, partnerships, white label, government contracts, and so on and so forth. Now, on the other hand, more like organic ways of growing is going to be organic discoverability, which includes like SEO, ASEO, or AI SEO, as well as any marketplaces or integrations that have search functions. That's where you're going to be optimizing to basically show up there. And then after that, you have word of mouth and affiliates, which both of these are a little bit more out of your control, but you can, suggest them better, right? And so these are all things that are more long-term play, and you can't instantly get all these things working the same way you can with these channels right here. And for word of mouth, step 1, just having good product, building a community around the product, having good referral system, friend invites, things like that. And then on the affiliate side is, again, something I'd say very few companies actually figure out how to do properly, is having really good, generous affiliate programs, having guides and courses on how to promote the product, having incentives like leaderboards and prizes, things of that nature. That's all going to drive and scale your affiliates to promote the product for you, basically. Now, the reason the social media and paid ads are the core marketing channels is simply because anybody who's in cold outreach, anybody who's enterprise, in events or whatever, anybody who's on Google or anybody who's word of mouth affiliates, all of these people use social media and you can target them on there. And so because of that, these channels are the most scalable and predictable in all niches, all products, all locations, all everything. And especially now where the whole population basically lives online. And so to make these channels work, obviously you need content types, right? Content type can be separated into infinite level of categories, right? But stuff includes like educational content, like the video you're watching right now, viral formats, influencer content, UGC, authority building content, emotional content, visual content, paid ad specific content, etc. Obviously, again, whenever I have this symbol, that means this stuff goes infinitely. I can't really list off every, content type. I included a couple examples of the type of videos and the type of content that will be included in these categories. So feel free to just kind of study this and get inspiration from there. But again, this kind of relies just on you and being creative and original. Now, that was kind of the overview breakdown of each channel. The core message here is to understand which channel is going to be the easiest for you to grow your product and promote it. Because each one of these channels has different pros and cons, right? Be that in discoverability is going to be very cheap and free to set up, but it's going to take a long time, right? Social media is going to be really content heavy. Paid ads, you're going to have to invest a lot of money to start up, right? With cold outreach, there is a long setup period and also a big investment to set up. Enterprise-wise, it's a lot of travel, a lot of people meeting, etc. You need connections. These two, you can't really set up and control if you not already have a product and already have scale. So each one has some pros and cons. You want to figure out in your current position, what are your pros, what are your cons, what can you use to your advantage, what do you have access to that other people don't have access to, and you want to figure that out. And it doesn't matter which channel you choose, all of this is going to drive back down into data, right? That's the core thesis of this, data. We want to do things with data. We don't want to rely on luck. We don't want to rely on virality. We don't want to rely on getting lucky. We only want to move everything based off data, so we're not wasting time doing things that simply are not growing us and not benefiting us. And for data, obviously, that just includes views, likes, comments, watch time, ROAS, CPA, CPMs, open rates, reply rates, ranking, keywords, all these things. Again, all data is different across each channel, but you understand what I mean. I know, like, if you've never done any of this, right, there's a steep learning curve to figuring all of this out. It takes time to figure out how to make viral videos, how to make viral TikToks and short form content, how to do good sponsorship deals, how to set up Meta ads, how to set up Google ads. All these things, there's a huge learning curve. Me and basically everybody I know spent years screwing up and messing up and failing, losing money consistently before we figured all of this stuff out. Now, once you've chosen your marketing channel to master, you want to start off with one, and eventually as you scale, you want to keep adding more and more of these to have a omni-channel presence. And the more channels you have, the more mastery you have all this stuff, the more of a moat you have, because you're not relying on one thing to grow your company. Now, once you have that figured out, step 2 is your conversion system. And this whole system is something, in my opinion, in tech, basically everybody ignores, besides maybe a couple like very high scale B2B companies, right? I think they've got to figure it out, but most people are completely ignoring this, and they're leaving so much money on the table that you can just come in and scoop up, because you will be able to acquire customers at a lower rate if you have all the stuff set up than a person who doesn't. And so the main mistake people do is that instead of building all this stuff, they think they just send them to their website, send them to their app install page, whatever it may be, and then they just hope somebody buys, and that's it. That's the whole system. That's the wrong way to approach this, because that's something you can't measure, test, and scale. So we want to focus on building a real sales funnel, right? And a sales funnel includes, your website, your sales page, your app page, your onboarding flow. However you're going to, onboard your customers from, not knowing about you and being cold traffic into knowing about you and actually converting. And so to do that, you have to build your offer. And there's a key difference between your offer and your SaaS or your product or your app, whatever it may be. Because in the example, like I said, right, Cal AI doesn't sell that it's a ChatGPT wrapper for fitness. It sells the benefit and the offer that you can track your calories with one photo. Same thing with ResiGPT. The offer really isn't that it's going to write pickup lines for you. The offer is that it's going to help you get matches, get girls, get laid, and so on and so forth, right? POV camera. It's not, the product might be the fact that it's literally just a camera, but they're not going to advertise that we're a camera, right? The benefit is that you're going to be able to have this cool thing at your wedding, at your birthday, whatever it may be, to have a collection of photos being made. And so the same thing applies to all these companies, right? They're not going to sell the technicality and the specific ways they coded the app, right? They're going to sell the benefit you actually get by using the app, using the SaaS, using the product. And so, like I said, your offer is going to comprise of things like your copywriting, your understanding and answering of desires, your sales video, your call to actions, lead magnets, quizzes, pricing, testimonials, reviews, urgency, scarcity, one-time offers, promotions, all these things. These are all things that build your offer, basically. And like I said, whenever I have this symbol, it means this is something you just do indefinitely. You'll always want to be testing different stuff to see what converts better. Because if you're able to just improve your conversion rate by from 1% to 2%, overnight you doubled your business. You understand? If you were making 10K per month, you will now be making 20K per month, right? If you were making 100K per month and doubled your conversion rate, next month you're going to make 200K. It's a very small thing, really, but it has insane butterfly effects that's going to scale your company tremendously. Now, once we have all of that set up, right, the customer has two options. You're either able to convince them and they bought the product, which is, great, you got a customer, or most likely they didn't buy the product. Because on average, only like 1% of people will actually buy a product. And so the biggest mistake I see most, tech companies specifically doing, with e-com and agencies, they're a little bit better at this, is that if somebody doesn't buy the product, they just throw them away. They do nothing with it. Like, they don't retarget them. They don't send email marketing campaigns, nothing. And, you did the difficult part. Setting this whole thing up and building a real consistent way to acquire customers, this is the most difficult thing to figure out and crack in your business. So once you do that, it becomes the most expensive thing in your business, right? Acquiring new customers is the most expensive thing you can do in your business. So if you already have somebody you have acquired, you're already able to convince them to go through your funnel. Start remarketing to them, right? Start sending them retargeting ads, email marketing campaigns, SMS campaigns, organic re-engagement content. All of this is going to lead them back into the sales funnel, and it's going to be a lot cheaper to convert somebody who's here versus somebody who's never heard of you and somebody brand new, right? Does that make sense? So yeah, hopefully, that kind of woke you up if you haven't already set any of this up, and start thinking about how you should be setting this up. And so once you have all this set up, your marketing channels, you have a consistent way to acquire customers, you have a consistent way to convert those customers, you've done the most difficult part of any business, right? You build out the systems where you can put $1 in and get $2, $3, $4 back out. Like, the question next is are you satisfied with that? How are you going to scale that to a, $100 million company or, $1 billion company and beyond that? I think that's not enough. And so that's when you want to start implementing your post-purchase funnel. And that includes, user growth and profit growth. It's kind of your main categories here. User growth wise, right? You want to start building better value loops and retention and stickiness. That includes, making the product shareable, building a community, right, around the product. So there's like a cult following around it, having a good affiliate program, having features like friend invites, so on and so forth, right? All of that is going to firstly funnel traffic back into here and let you acquire more customers for free, basically, right? You're not really, you're suggesting things and giving reasons for them why they should be promoting it, but you're not actively going out there and spending money to acquire these customers, right? You're just taking care of your customers and getting them to promote you for you. On the retention side, it's just basically keeping customers happy by having, newsletters, gamifications, deep integrations with features they want, posting valuable content for free, and just giving them more and more bonuses and things of that nature to make them happy and, stay subscribed for longer. On the other side, you have profit growth. And the only two real ways to increase your profit month over month in your company is to reduce churn and increase lifetime value. Now, churn reduction, that's mostly just, number one, having a good product, right? So people not unhappy with it and want to cancel. And after that, it's mostly just psychological tricks, having cancellation quizzes, building FOMO, email marketing, discounts. A bunch of, again, this goes infinitely. These are just suggestions, but there's a billion different ways so you can reduce churn. Again, these are just kind of just basic examples, but again, product improvements, consistent updates, all this stuff is are reasons to reduce churn because you want to keep your churn as low as possible so you retain the most amount of money. And then step 2 is lifetime value growth. And the best way to do that is to understand and kind of reevaluate your situation, right? You just went and did the most difficult thing in your business, right? You build on your marketing channels, you build on your conversion channels, right? You're able to consistently acquire customers. Why would you not just sell them more shit? You know what I mean? They already like you. They already trust you. They already gave you your credit card information. Just give them more reasons to keep giving you money, right? Don't just stop. Don't be happy with like your one MRR subscription, right? Give them more reasons to give you more money, provide with more value, more services, more everything to extract more money out of them. Right? This includes upsells, add-ons, courses, programs, high-ticket services, having features that like lock them inside the platform as well, right? All this stuff goes back into here and back into the sales funnel and just, makes you more money. And so once you have this whole system set up, right? This whole system, the last part is all of it bleeds into just customer loyalty and having also customer support, customer care as the final 2 steps. And now you went from just having your SaaS, your app, your product, whatever it may be, a kind of crappy code base maybe that any Indian with AI can just copy and steal in like, a weekend probably, to now you have a real system here with enterprise value to consistently, grow your company, acquire new customers, convert those customers, and scale the business. You're able to scale profitably. You're able to, get money into your own pocket. You didn't have to give away, your percentage and shares of your company. If people want to invest in your company, investors want to buy your company. It's going to be super easy to sell this type of business because, this is the most difficult part. But once you crack it, once you, went through the steps of figuring this out, the fruits of your labor are going to be insane. And so finally, like if you're able to get to a $10 million ARR at a 10x multiple, which again, if you're able to set all this up and scale to 10 million like a year, you can easily get a 10x multiple. That's about $100 million exit. And you get to keep majority of the money to yourself because you didn't have to give away, 90% of it to a bunch of, investors and fund managers, whatever. And you're able just to do all the stuff yourself. And I mean, once you do that, then you can, buy your mom a mansion, yourself a yacht, and your dad a Porsche, whatever you want to do. Now, hopefully, this whole system kind of made sense for you. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance in each of these steps. And so lastly, I want to kind of give you a couple case study examples of other companies and how they are implementing all these systems inside their businesses, right? For example, for social media, Cal AI, RizGPT, POV Camera, all of these guys, they specifically focused on short form content on TikTok and Instagram to get their initial traction. And again, that just went through their funnel. They tested different content types, tested that. They got a bunch of data from that. After that, they sent it to their conversion funnel. They went through their app onboarding page. They built a good offer around the whole product, remarketed it. And, that's why they built the SaaS. And that's why they're now doing, 2 million ARR with Cal AI. And I think, also pretty insane numbers of both of these. On page ad side, Sintra AI, Bible Chat, Outer Shorts, all very successful companies. Sintra started out as literally selling ChatGPT prompt templates, which they later turned into like a ChatGPT wrapper, and now they raised like $70 million. And again, they just started off with basic meta ads, just selling ChatGPT prompt templates. Bible Chat, it's literally just, the Bible PDF, but just added a couple AI features on top of it. Outer Shorts is basically just an N8N automation. that creates and auto-posts videos for you. For cold outreach, they're more like B2B focused. Instantly, ListKit, Taplio. Taplio just grew with LinkedIn. Instantly and ListKit, they grew with cold emails. Affiliates, I would say these are kind of like very interesting companies that I think very few people talk about. Go High Level and ClickFunnels, they specifically grew with affiliates by having a really good affiliate system where they give a massive percentage, and then they just had a bunch of YouTubers make free content for them promoting the tool, and that's how they grew. Right? They provided them with the content, leaderboards, prizes, stuff like that, and motivated them in order to promote it with the affiliates, and that's just how they grew it. Right? Very interesting strategy. Discoverability wise, these are mostly like small, very niche apps that it's kind of more difficult to advertise because not everybody needs to remove the background from their image like at all times. They're mostly gonna just search for that. White Bundle is like a upsell app inside of Shopify. Pre-render, same thing. They kind of just cracked SEO, and that's how they grew. And again, I would say discoverability is more of a long-term play, and all these apps will, all businesses will benefit from it, but it's not something you can just see immediate results from. And then, companies like Dermis AI and Scale AI, which Scale AI, I'm pretty sure they sold for like $17 billion companies to Facebook just a couple of weeks ago. They use mostly just enterprise contracts and deals and events, stuff like that in order to sell. And so, like I said, step one is understanding what type of company are you building and what type of channel are you going to benefit the most out of for your company, right? Once you figure that out, you want to start building out the rest of the systems and just perfecting each step of this funnel every single day until you just have a $100 million company. Obviously, it sounds very simple when I lay it out like this. There's a lot of nuance and details involved with each one of these steps that I can't, cover in this video specifically. But this is basically like your roadmap and game plan of how you want to be structuring and thinking about building your business in order to actually have it be successful and have a big exit, right? You don't want to be building your company blindly and just relying on luck and instinct. You want to have this all systemized step by step of what you want to focus on day in and day out. Now, I did write a kind of reality check list here of, the type of stuff you're going to be struggling with each one of these things. With paid ads, how do you set up your campaigns? How do you test creatives? How do you serve scale? What do you do when your account gets disabled? What do you get if you get banned, right? How do you get unbanned? How do you read metrics? How do you build a consistent pipeline to publish creatives every single week? With organic, how do you find creators to work with that are not, stupid? How do you brief creators? How do you edit content to be viral? How do you make videos that actually sell and not just go viral? How do you manage all the creators, right? With cold outreach, how do you set up all the systems? How do you write messages that get replies and not get ignored? How do you get out of spam? How do you find qualified leads? With content, what type of keywords are you targeting? How do you do content or keyword research? How do you competitor research? With affiliates, how do you build like a actually well-structured program that is going to drive affiliate incentives? With word of mouth, how do you even incentivize somebody to talk about the product? Enterprise, how do you build connections? How do you build your network? How do you go to events? How do you figure all this stuff out, right? Offer creation wise, how do you translate product features into like emotional conversation driven like benefits that, actually going to answer the desires? How do you craft irresistible offers? How do you build guarantees and bonuses and angles that actually make somebody convert? How do you create urgency? Then for follow-ups, how do you write retargeting ads that, actually convert? How do you write retargeting emails? How do you set up all the email flows and SMS flows to nurture your customers, reconvert them, bring them back, and sell them other things? Virality-wise, how do you build a product that goes viral and is shareable? How do you gamify features? Upsell-wise, how do you find features to sell? How do you build offers without cannibalizing the initial offer, right? Retention and churn, how do you keep users engaged? How do you build a community around the product that, builds a tribe, an actual fan base and loyalty for your customers? How do you build habit loops, make it, people addicted to using the product? How do you increase your stickiness? All these things. These are just a few of the difficulties you're going to be facing whilst building out this whole system, right? Nobody said building a $100 million company is going to be easy, right? So I want to make your expectations real, that this stuff is difficult. It takes time. But if you go through the challenges, tribulations, you'll come out the other side owning a widely successful company. Now, I truly hope you got a lot of value from this video. I put a lot of effort into this whole presentation, and I don't think anybody has ever really mapped out all the steps you need to do in order to build a successful company like this. And I hope this gives you a lot of, clarity and direction of what you should be doing next and what you should be focusing on in order to grow your company at whatever stage you're at right now. And so I want to leave you with pitching my offer is that if you want somebody to help guide you through all these steps, help setting up all these systems and, potentially even take over some of these systems for you, then I can probably do that. And I would love to hear about your company and what you're building. So click the first link in the description and we can apply and start working together and hopefully, scale and you can start getting awesome results like all my other clients are having right now. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you got some value out of this and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.